Hello everybody, it's Skidz later here. Today we are reacting to Wansee Entertainment. But I love Wansee Entertainment, so I just want to do Wansee Entertainment because I'm react to it now because I love reacting to any of them. So I love this beginning. I love this Wansee Entertainment because he got great horror illustration. So so the first one we react is True Weird Man Horror Story Animated. I think it's about Weird Man, but let's watch it. Weird Man.
This story happened 8 years ago. I was 13 years old.
Oh.
At the time, me, my mom, and my dad lived in this small town with a low population.
Yeah.
The town barely had any jobs, so my mom was a housewife while my dad worked as a cook at a diner.
Wow.
Growing up, I was a shy kid with no friends. I always got bullied in school for how much of a loser I was. And I loved to write and read. But that's enough about my personal life. So one weekend day, I was at home. My dad went to work, while my mom was, of course, at home cooking and cleaning. I was in my room watching TV. The day was going by kind of fast. A couple of hours later, my dad got home, and my mom called me down for dinner. When we finished with dinner, it was time for me to go to bed. So I did my daily routine, brush my teeth, and throw on my pajamas. After that, I went to sleep. I say about 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up out of nowhere, probably from a bad dream or something. For some reason, I decided to look out the window. When I looked out the window, I saw this man. He looked like he was in his 20s. He was wearing a long coat with black pants and long boots, and he had on gothic makeup.
Why?
He looked like a goth. His clothes were all dirty, and he also had long black hair and was clean shaven. So when I saw this man, I was so confused as to why this man that I didn't know was standing in front of our house, staring at our house. I found that really weird.
Yeah.
After he stared at our house for 5 seconds, he walked towards my mother's car and tugged on the front passenger door. But it was locked. Then he walked toward our front door and began knocking on the door.
Wow.
This, of course, woke my parents up. They walked downstairs and went to the door and opened it. Then I heard the man say, "Hello, I'm sorry to disturb your sleep, but I need some help. I'm stranded and I've been walking for hours, the whole night. And I'm asking if I could come inside for a glass of water, please." Then my parents politely said, "Sure, come on in." Then I heard footsteps and the door closing. After this, I sneaked downstairs to see what they were doing. They were just sitting at the dinner table having a conversation. My parents were asking the man about himself, and if he had any family he could live with. After their conversation, I heard the man asking my parents if he could have 5 minutes to himself. My parents said yes, and they walked out of the room. As soon as they walked away, the man gets up and sneaks over to where the car keys are hanging up, and takes one of them and sneaks them in his pocket. As soon as I saw this, I yelled, "Mom and Dad, he took one of the car keys!" When I yelled, the man was startled and ran toward the front door, pushing my mom and dad out of the way. He opened the door and ran out. I ran upstairs to look out the window, and I saw the man running towards my mother's car, unlocking it and getting into the front passenger seat and locking the doors. My mother ran up to the door, and I heard her yell, "Get the f*** out of my car before I call the police on you, you little thief!" Then the man slid over to the driver's seat, started up the car, and drove off. My mother then ran inside the house, and my dad called the police. 15 minutes later, the police arrived, and my parents gave a description of the man. Still to this day, he's never been found. I will never forget that day for the rest of my life.
Oh, he's going back to you now. So he wants to, now he's going to you now. Yeah. Doesn't make any sense to that story. I don't know anything about that story. That story is creepy as hell. I never know that guy was coming after this kid. Now he was coming after that kid. So let's watch his his related story, the creature. I'm gonna pause it because I don't even know why this thing never want me to go out. Let me read this one.
So overwhelmed by fear that you were frozen and you couldn't even move your fingertips?
Yeah.
Without blinking, without moving your mouth, without talking, and without taking your feet off the floor.
What?
Have you ever had such an awful experience that all you can do is shiver, helplessly, frozen in place? I have. And that story is what I'm going to talk about from now on. When I was 11, one day I was playing in the woods with my friends until nightfall.
Okay.
I told them I had to go home quickly, and I left them in case my mom would scold me for being out too late.
Oh. What happened?
After leaving the woods, and I was on the way home, something seemed strange. Suddenly, there was no sound of insects or animals crying at all.
Wow.
In the silence, I got goosebumps and looked around slowly. However, then a faint sound came from the forest. At first I thought it was an animal cry, but the sound grew instantly. No, the sound didn't get louder. The sound was coming at me.
It looks like it.
And it was getting closer at a terrific speed.
Oh.
But no animal could have moved so quickly.
True.
When I thought about that, I instantly got goosebumps.
You saw it.
At that moment, in the dark, I saw something approaching like an afterimage. And at the time, I faced a scene that I would never see again in my life. A creature with multiple limbs was crawling to me at a terrific speed.
It's like a spider.
At first, I thought it was a person crawling, but it was an unbelievable speed, and it came before me in the blink of an eye. When I looked more closely, it looked like a spider.
Looks like it.
It was blue and about 3 feet tall. And it had several grape-like eyes. I froze on the spot. Fortunately, it didn't attack me immediately. It only hovered around. It was moving around in front of my nose, and the mouth seemed to be chewing something at a terrific speed. I heard the sound of chewing bones in a bizarre voice. I couldn't even breathe properly because I was so terrified. Some of you may ask why I didn't run away, but it was so fast that I couldn't dare to run. All I could do was stay still, as if I were dead. The closer the presence of it was, the colder it became, quickly. I could feel the chill from the creature, which was so cold that it couldn't be considered a living thing. As if there was a lump of ice in front of me, I felt like I was going to cough in the cold air, so I suppressed it all the way. It moved back and forth in front of me for a while, and it seemed like it was thinking whether to eat me or not. I couldn't even move a muscle, and I had to stand there and shiver with endless fear. Do you know that feeling? That the moment I move, that the living thing is about to attack me.
True.
No one will ever know the feeling of what I'm talking about.
I know the feeling.
In that state, I couldn't move my hands, even though my nose felt itchy. And I couldn't turn my body, even though my legs hurt. I breathed very quietly because I was afraid. Even the sound of breathing would be heard by him, and I felt like I was gradually running out of oxygen. That is how I stood in an immovable position for an awfully long time. And it circled around me dozens of times. And it finally slowly started to move away from me, little by little. I still didn't move when it was about 100 meters away, because it seemed like the moment I moved, it would run instantly and tear me apart and chew me up. After a long time, finally, the thing disappeared into the forest and I could move again. As soon as I took a step forward, I fell to the ground, feeling great pain and cramping in my leg muscles. I pretty much crawled on my hands and feet, and I eventually managed to get home. When my mom saw my blue lips and that my whole body was wet with sweat, she asked what was going on. I talked to her about it, but she didn't believe it. Then I saw the clock, and surprisingly, I realized that when I met that thing, that I stood still like a rock for an hour. That night, I suffered from awful body aches. My fever went up to 104 degrees, and the village doctor came and treated me. Fortunately, I survived, and I told the doctor about seeing it, but he said, "That is truly strange. There was one other kid who said he saw what you talked about before. But the child went missing a while later, and he's still missing."
Wow.
His facial expression hardened.
Oh.
Fortunately for me, I haven't seen it since that day. But I felt like I could find out the cause of what had happened in my town in the meantime. Dogs and livestock that were raised went missing. Neighborhood people also went missing in the woods. The police determined that they were eaten by wild animals, but, well, I don't think so. Sadly, I don't think there were many people who properly judged the situation like me. Everyone would have ran away the moment that they saw it, and they wouldn't have known it was a wrong judgment.
To do that.
They wouldn't have known it was impossible to run away from it originally. After that incident, my family moved, and I don't know what happened to the mysterious thing. And what it was, I still don't know. But I still remember it freshly. The fear of that day. The fear of death that I felt when it constantly circled around me and breathed chills. Even now when I think about it, my heart feels like it's going to stop. If at the time I couldn't hold my cough, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. If you didn't hold your cough, you won't be here. You won't be here today. You'll be dead forever. And that's what's going to happen to him. He did not know what he was going to do. He just thinks something's going to happen. So let's watch the creepy guy horse trade. It's about a creepy guy who's stalking him.
Life can feel so
We'll be
ordinary.
skipping this in a second.
It is therefore only
Creepy guys.
A lot of people still don't believe what I say, even to this day. But I hope that someone would believe that the horror I experienced is real, so that I could finally ease my pain, even if it's just a little bit.
Wow. He's typing
That's why I'm
everything.
posting this to this community. 7 years ago, one deep dawn, I woke up suddenly with goosebumps all over my
This is the
body.
last video.
My heart stopped for a second as soon as my vision came back slowly from the darkness. That was because around 7 people with knives in their hands were staring at me.
Whoa.
Their faces were painted with white paint. At that moment, I learned that in such a horrific moment, even a single voice does not come out. As if they were waiting to wake me up, they surrounded my face with knives.
Ooh.
7 knives around my face, leaving just about 1 centimeter
scary.
away from my face.
Well, that's scary.
If I moved my head even just
Yeah.
a little bit, my face would have been stabbed all over.
Yep. You're going to move your eyes.
Frozen in place, I moved my eyes around. They were laughing like psychos, staring at me. I screamed. One of them put their knife right under my chin so that I could not open my mouth to scream. I asked why they were doing this to me, crying. They did not say a single word. Instead, they breathed grotesquely, as if they were animals that couldn't speak.
You couldn't speak like they.
After suffering from extreme horror without moving a single bit for
I
hours,
would.
I eventually fainted.
I would. I was.
The next
sad.
morning, when I opened my eyes, I vomited frantically with a terrible headache.
Mhm.
Although the window was
I did.
broken and open, the trace of them coming and going was nowhere to be found. I couldn't breathe properly,
Wow.
and my heartbeat was 3 times faster than usual and would not stop. I collapsed on my bed while my body was still shaking. I could not believe what had happened to me.
Wow.
Although I reported this incident to the police, the investigation was not easy, for there were no direct wounds left on my body, and there was no evidence left behind.
Wow.
I stayed at my friend's house for a while, but I had terrible nightmares every night. However, this is not the end of the story. One day, I heard on the news that a woman in her 60s had died of a heart attack in her sleep.
Damn.
A neighbor of hers saw the window broken and reported it to the police. The police started to investigate, but they concluded that the reason of her death was a heart attack, since there weren't any wounds on her body. There were no fingerprints of the culprits, no evidence at all to be found.
Ooh.
But I thought I knew who did it. I was certain that it was them.
True.
So I said that to the police. However, when they asked me what the criminals looked like, I couldn't explain it to them properly because they were all covered in white paint. After that, I moved away and have not heard if they were caught. However, I still suffer from horrendous nightmares even to this day. Even tonight, I jumped out of the bed because I felt a blade on my face. However, that was just in my imagination.
It could be.
After being panicked again for a while, I could not go back to sleep.
Wow.
It is 4 in the morning, and I am writing this post to upload to this website because I can't sleep. I have no idea why they did such a thing, or what their motives were.
Yeah.
Even now, although 7 years have passed, this incident remains a mystery, and the terrible trauma left in me remains unsolved.
Oh, it was still there. He didn't. Oh shit.
Get 50% off all.
He didn't know what was going on. He did not know what was going on. He thinks it's still there. He don't know what their motives was. He don't know what their motives was. He does not know what their motives were. He just don't know. So we're not gonna watch another one because we just only want to watch 3. I really want to watch 3 videos. That's all I want to watch. I want to watch 3 videos. That's all I want to watch. But if you want me to do more Wansee, or you want me to do a share my story share my story, I'm not going to do my story anime because they want to put me in court, but I'm not going to let them do that to me because I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to end it right here. Join the Keyway Squad. Bye.